Hey guys, so Phil here. Um, I know that I said previously, well, that's if you watched the last episode that I put out, but since there's only, a handful of those, it should have been pretty easy to find. Anyways, in that one, I said that I wasn't going to put out another video until somebody showed me some courage in doing something for themselves that helps their own situation to be better because I want people to be able to do stuff for themselves. And somebody finally, some people finally came forward and showed me that, and they did some things for themselves, and, it's working out better for them now, which is great. So that's why I'm back and how I'm back and why you're seeing me this week, because otherwise I wasn't really going to bother with the video because if people aren't listening to these um, and they're not watching them, then I could be doing other things. Anyhow, so I know that if you're keeping track of the blog and keeping track of the way that things should be going, we should be jumping into the November post from last year, which goes over uh, ring day and all that kind of stuff, and impending what was going to originally be impending graduation and all of that sort of stuff. Some of that stuff happened the way that it was written, and some of it did not happen the way that it was written, just because things came up after the fact that changed circumstances. If you know me, you know what I'm talking about. Regardless, the party for like getting just totally drunk to celebrate getting my ring never happened because that's just stupid in my mind. So even though people wanted me to do it, it was really just my executive decision to say no, it's not going to happen, and I'm not going to do that because I just don't think that that's worth it. So it didn't happen because Phil has the final say for his own freaking parties. Just FYI. I'm not going to let somebody else force me to do something at a party that's my party if I don't want to do it. That's just stupid. And I probably won't let you force me to do it if it's your party either, if I really don't want to do it. So, yeah, just don't get any stupid ideas. Anyhow, yeah, so that may get to move along a little bit because there's not a whole lot in that November post. So now we're going to skip ahead to February of this year, which is good grief. It's July, almost August now. Probably August by the time you guys see this, unless I just decide to be really quick about it. But I don't know yet. So yeah, roughly August. And this was written back in February, so a lot's happened since then. A lot had happened from November up until February at the time, and it wasn't really stuff that I wanted to go back over or rehash. And I don't really want to rehash it now either. Um, so I just won't. And I'm gonna kind of pick up the post after that first couple of lines, and we'll go from there. So, um, yeah, I didn't really originally want to write it. I actually, half of me right now doesn't uh, want to say it for you guys just because of the general nature of the arguments that I'm about to make. So, the general nature of my arguments, ideologies, and ideas, because they're abstract and irrational when compared to those of the majority opinion. And I would rather not be a confrontational person if I can help it. But if I can't help it, then fuck it, let's just do it. So, however, in this case, I'm also listening to the other half of me that keeps saying that that the point needs to be made, uh, even if it's only made once. You may say, Phil, you've made this point 8 times, you make it in every freaking video. If I've made it 8, 9, 10 times, and you're still not getting it to the point that I have to continue to say it, then there's an issue. And I will say it again. I won't like it, but I'll say it again uh, until we're all on the same page. Um, so, yeah. Now, I had touched on this first bit that I'm going to go over before. Um, I'll do it again because it sets up the rest of what I have to say properly in the right way. In high school, on a whim, just kind of in the middle of the night, actually, I threw together a fictional story through my highly active imagination at the time. I wrote enough that eventually I started considering it as and calling it a book, even though it, in reality, it wasn't developed enough to be. It wasn't long enough either. Um, After a while, I moved on to other things, and I didn't think about it much anymore. Um, a while back in February, someone brought it back up to the front of my attention after I had been so long away from it. And I really couldn't remember if there was a more substantial reason that I hadn't done anything with it for such a long time, other than that I just got busy with other things and didn't really think about it or really dedicate any time to it because there were other more important things. So I went back to it and I read the last couple of paragraphs that I had written to help myself remember where I was in the story and what was going on. And after I finished the last sentence, it hit me immediately as to why this would never be able to be continued, irregardless of how much free time I ended up with later or at that time. Um, the situations I had created were just too easy. Um, there was an immediate positive solution to the majority of events that could have been presented as problems. So basically, everything that could have been presented as an issue or something that a character had to deal with, I had already come up with a really simple, easy solution that was just kind of presented. Yeah, in short, the whole thing lies. I understand that it's a fictional creation because I crafted it, I created it. But within any fictional story that I've ever seen, there still has to be problems that are left unsolved in order for it to be interesting and something that can be connected with on a personal level with the reader, and that's how you connect. Continuing this would have just meant that I would be actively contributing to the pile of fake trash that the world seems to be so drunk on these days. If that doesn't make any sense for you, I'll put it this way: everybody lies. Everybody. The one exception I will accept to this rule is when the Pope speaks as the Pope, and that's because when he speaks as the Pope, he's speaking in persona Christi, which basically means that the Holy Spirit's moving through him, so he's basically speaking God's word at that point. Uh, but that's the only thing. And if you try to get historical and shit on me, then obviously Jesus is infallible too. Um, but other than the Holy Family and the Holy Father, the Pope, I don't want to hear anybody say that they don't lie or they haven't lied at some point, because we're all human and we all do it, and nobody's perfect. Um, and on top of that, that means that we're all cowards to ourselves and to each other because we cannot be honest with ourselves, much less each other. I've already contributed plenty of cowardice on my own account, uh, and I will not not at this point allow myself to sit and write thousands of words more in cowardice and then publish it for some member of the next generation to get sucked into. And no, I cannot and I will not just edit the content to get rid of the lying elements, because that would feel as though I would just be trying to obscure and hide the underlying stream of lies. The whole thing is based on something that, at the core, is cowardice, because there are no issues, and that's fake as shit. So, or any issues that are presented are way too easily fixed, and there's just no substance. So the whole thing basically lies, and that's why you haven't seen it and it hasn't been put out there much, because I'm not going to do it. Um, hell, nobody's going to want to stand being called a coward by a guy like me, sitting behind a keyboard and a webcam on the internet. Um, and I get that. So if you want to hate me, or if you want to leave, or if you want to stop listening, or stop reading the blog, I'm not stopping you. But that doesn't mean that I'll take back the statements either. Uh, Someone will try to justify it or ignore it, but at the core of the issue, that would just mean another lie. If you try to ignore it or justify it away, and come up with some reason um, for it to be the contrary. Or my favorite, and this really is my favorite still. Someone will try to tell me that I haven't experienced enough to understand what it's like to be lied to repeatedly by a person that I trusted and believed to the bitter end, or lied to by someone I love. Um, Both of which have happened over time. So, yeah. Go ahead, project and assume all you want, or start suddenly apologizing because you think I'm talking about you. But the chances are I'm probably not, because I tend to disconnect with those people and I don't talk to them. So if I'm still talking to you, it's probably not your ass. So relax, chill the fuck out. Uh, you know, and then there's the other fun bit of this, which is doubt my level of honesty in saying this and having written this all you want. But I'll tell you two things. Um, I don't have time for people who are asses and doubters, so I won't bother with those people. And seeing as how apologizing for the past drags the past back here, which is counterproductive, just do this instead for me. Instead of apologizing for the old, just be real with yourself and with me as we go forward, so that we can both move on. Because I'm already moving, whether you are or not. I'm not waiting for you. Um, I'm by no means perfect in all of this, hence why I warned you at the start of the potential for you to disagree with me, and potentially to a large degree that you would disagree with me. But it's something that I'm fighting for at this point. Um, it's kind of interesting to me because some people uh, have lied to me, but they think that they've done it in some sort of clever way that I won't be able to figure out. But the problem with that is I've played the coward way too many times in my life, to not be able to recognize another coward when I come into contact with one. Basically, that just, well, it is what it means. Um, I I have been there. You are basically trying to bullshit a former bullshitter. So I know what all the tricks look like. I know what the body language looks like. I know all that stuff. Okay. So if you try to do it, I know what to look for because I used to use it. Uh, so don't try it because it won't work. Good. No, I would much rather grow more fully into being real, especially if becoming more and more real requires me to push myself to be stronger, because I'm tired of being weak and hiding in cowardice. If no one notices what's changing while I'm building up to where I want to be, that's fine, because the more important thing is that I become strong enough to push through the blind and the afraid masses who are stuck in the fog, in order to join the others who are strong enough to pull the rest towards something stronger from where we are now. Um, for those of you who are still pissed off at this point because you feel I've offended you in some way, stay where you are if you wish. Uh, it bothers me a bit, but I'm in the process of doing something to bring about overall sweeping changes, whether anyone agrees or not, whether you hate me or not. I will move to a higher level regardless. More resistance in the process just means that I'm stronger by the end. So go ahead and be pissed all you want, but it's just going to make me better, and you should know that. For the rest of you who can admit to yourselves that you've faltered in some form of cowardice in the past, or maybe you are right now, but you also recognize that something greater can be achieved. Let us fight for it. Let us fight to better ourselves, for the chance to achieve something that no one else will be able to take away from us, because it will be real and unwavering, held up by our combined strength. Now, I know that nobody wants me to sit here and say, hey, you're a coward, you lied, you hide behind stuff. Um, but we do it. I mean, we just do. We don't want to change. We want things to stay the same because it's easy. It's easy to lie, and it's easy to keep doing the same things that we've always been doing. And you know what? Uh, yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Um, because if you haven't gotten it up to this point, you're probably not gonna get it. So, anyways, I'll see you next week. I'll probably piss you off or weird you out again next week, but hey, I'm gonna be straight up with you, and I'm gonna go through it. Um, that is, if anybody keeps coming back. If nobody comes back, then fine. Um, I'll put up at least the next one, anyways. Just because I want to throw that one out there and see what happens. It may take me a little longer to get it thrown out there, just because it's a long post, but we'll get it done. So yeah, anyways, um, coward, don't coward, noodle, don't noodle. It's up to you. I would go with the courage bit myself, but I'm not you. So pick one, stay, stay where you are, or fight for something better. Uh, but you gotta pick one. So I'll let you do that. Peace.